Charles, this is always a good time to take stock. It's nearly the end of the calendar year. We're just fresh from another council meeting. Again, a very productive day. We do a lot of review and approval of policy and strategy, but also increasingly we're putting those council meetings to very good use in terms of, I suppose, using the wisdom in the room to inform a lot of our understanding of members, to inform our member engagement. And of course, most recently, you and I had drafted a letter which went to our members and to our students, outlining one of the key strategic initiatives that we're going to put forward for their consideration in the coming months.
Yeah, so we had a very, very full day indeed, and covered, I think, an incredible amount of ground really, because we looked at the joint venture and the initiative of that in terms of moving our strategy forward, accelerating CIMA's strategy. We looked at the update of our strategy to 2025, the annual plan, and also member and student surveys, as well as member fees. So there was a lot in that day, and we even had time for some role play activity at the end of it.
Indeed, yeah. So it's a real mix, as you say. So strategy was looking out to 2025, and then we followed that with thinking, okay, so what's really relevant from the strategy for 2016 for a business plan? Yeah. And so, you know, we are in interesting times. We're very ambitious for the organisation. And again, through the workshop, what we were trying to do was to say, okay, so what do some of the world's leading organizations look like? How do they behave to their customers? You know, what are the expectations of their customers of them? And so we're really trying to pitch CIMA, you know, in that playing field as such, and understand what is it that we need to do next in terms of really meeting the needs for our members and students.
Yeah, so the surveys, member and student surveys, both of them gave us some really, really good feedback in terms of two things. One was, what were the things which were of most importance to them, so we can then really think about how we allocate our resources and how we focus upon the things which members think and students think are critical to their success and getting value out of being part of CIMA. And then secondly, it was a lot about how they can work or how we can provide those services more effectively. So the ease of doing business with us, if you like, which is in this very fast changing world, and where, you know, the best organisations are continually increasing or improving the customer experience, is raising the bar rapidly. And we've got a great opportunity, but also a great challenge to deliver those services, so that we move what members want and our services forward dramatically. With regard to students, and they obviously have a key interest in getting through the exams and on to membership, and what membership of a professional organisation CIMA can achieve for them. And I think it was great to see in the surveys really two things. I mean, one was that they really do value the professional qualification, and then the other issue, which is really what are the things which will help them most, they want most, to help them get through the exam. So that was very, very helpful, and we'll obviously kind of need to react to that.
Indeed. And I mean, our students are our members of the future, and one of the things I take great pride in is that when our members of council and even our past presidents, for example, you know, are considering what's important for CIMA to deliver both to business and to our members and students, they're very much thinking about it, you know, from the perspective of members, but very sighted on students as being the members of the future. So student feedback, student engagement in terms of where we are in relation to the syllabus and how we can improve support to them and make changes to support is absolutely key, again, how we deliver a service to our students.
Absolutely, and in fact, I think one thing which was great when you and I had lunch with our past presidents a few weeks ago, they were very keen, and I was very taken with this, that we really should have a conversation with them and understand their views about where we're going in terms of evolving our strategy and getting closer to the joint venture with our American colleagues, the AICPA. So that was great as well.
Absolutely, and I think that was another example of a room full of wisdom in many respects. They've had so much experience around the governance of CIMA. They are very strategic, and as they were weighing up some of the strategic options we have, particularly in relation to joint venture, very future focused, very forward looking. We were keen to test their opinion. They encouraged us to test the opinion of our members, and also very importantly our students, so they see their legacy as to the students. It is the responsibility of Council to review and approve strategy on a regular basis. Having said that, our aim is still exactly the same. So it is about helping people and businesses to succeed, and then we constantly test it, refresh it to make sure that it reflects, as you said, the latest competitive forces, the latest needs of business in terms of our professional skills and capabilities. And then equally, we're also paying in very fully the views of our members and students, because we need to take that as another data point as such. And so really interesting to hear, it is certainly things like our FM magazine still is a very important service and a means of communication to our members, and they value that very much. The other thing, we will of course have to stay really connected with our members over the next coming months in particular. So we are putting the evolution of the joint venture to them, and with their support, we will put that to the vote at the next AGM. So we contacted members and students directly back in November, and we have already started to take some feedback in terms of their reactions to it. We want to be very live to any questions and concerns. We're going to give a lot of information through websites, equally between you and I, many of our council members, many of our members of executive staff, to be on hand to answer the questions. But really important for us then, I think, is to almost have that regular pulse check with our members and understand what's on their mind.
Well, we've, as a result of really wanting to understand how our members feel about the joint venture, we've had more surveys of our members than usual. And this one, which we sent out relatively recently, and we had from the members a really fantastic response, best response actually we've ever had to either a survey or to when we sent out resolutions for the AGM. We've had a great response, and it's been there's good support for taking the joint venture to the next stage, its evolution, if you like. And so that's really really important. But we now, I think, understand very well from those members who had a good look at the survey and gave us some good responses what we need to do, and really what we need to do for them in terms of employability and status. And I think we talked to, if we look at our strategy, at its heart is relevance, and it's about making sure that we're relevant in terms of promoting the public interest. But as far as our members are concerned, it's really important that we're relevant in terms of their professional standing and their employability, and that's what we are really focused upon, and where we think that working with the AICPA and working closer with them, that we have an opportunity to really build advocacy and a focus upon management accounting, both for the business community and for them individually.
And one of the things that underpins our strategy is basically, we want to continuously improve and do what we do better. And so that's the whole point of going through the strategic reviews. Obviously the joint venture then, and the evolution of that joint venture, is one of our key strategic initiatives, and it is ultimately to do that for us, to be better at what we do well already. And that's why it's really interesting then to compare ourselves against these world-class organisations as such. And then of course we also covered the more routine matters in relation to member fees, student fees. Again, we take a strategic approach. We're looking out over a number of years. We're taking a lot of external factors into account in terms of currency, economics, value proposition. And I think one of the things we heard very strongly from Council was, the value of our qualification. And it's a long-term investment, and it's how we invest in ourselves. So again, a very good discussion on fees.
And I think really important, I mean, that value debate is really important, and particularly in terms of our students in the different markets around the world. We need to think about value for them and affordability for them. I mean, the opportunities that the qualification provides, the professional qualification and membership provides, is very significant, but on the route there, being very cognizant about the challenges that they face, particularly in some parts of the world. We again discussed at some length, and is very much on our agenda, and I think it's important that that's understood, because it isn't one size fits all for our students around the world.
Indeed, and Council take that very seriously,
Yeah.
and that, as you say, that is certainly on our agenda to progress that forward. We then did have the opportunity to put Council members and executive team to good use in terms of trying to I suppose really probe what these world-class organisations look like and the type of service they perform and how they are easy to do business with. And we modelled some of that through, and typically what our members would expect of us. And again, that's very much going to shape the delivery of our strategy. We started some of that discussion in July when we had Council Strategy Day, and so now I think we're getting to that very regular rhythm of continuing to develop that over the course of the year, because it is so important to our success.
And I mean, it was actually, there was a real buzz in the room. There was a lot of fun, and I think what we really saw there was addressing those two issues that the surveys were talking about in terms of priorities and how one can really address those priorities in a way which makes doing business with us easier. And that's what the really sort of the world-class companies that we were talking about are doing in terms of both communication, ease of access, expertise and so forth. So learning from them so we can produce a better member proposition.
Indeed.
So we did a lot today, and we'd like to wish our members and students season's greetings and happy holidays as well.
Indeed, and I would completely echo that, Charles. It's been a year of challenges and opportunities, and I think it's very good when this time of year comes around just to be able to take stock and to pause and to spend quality time with families and recharging our batteries. So likewise, just to pass on season's greetings.